June 4, 1942. 10:20 a.m. The flight deck of the Japanese carrier Akagi. Lieutenant Joichi Tomonaga, 29 years old, has just returned from bombing Midway Island. His aircraft are being refueled and rearmed on the hangar deck below. In 30 minutes, he'll launch again, this time to attack the American carriers his scouts have just spotted. On Akagi's deck, mechanics work frantically. Bombs are being swapped for torpedoes. Torpedoes for bombs. Fuel lines snake across the hangar. Aviation gas pools on the deck. Everything is ready. The Japanese are about to destroy the American fleet. 37 American SBD Dauntless dive bombers break through the clouds at 14,000 feet. They roll into their attack dives. 60-degree angle. Airspeed building to 250 knots. In the next 5 minutes, the entire course of World War II will change. 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, will be destroyed. Japan's naval superiority will end. The war in the Pacific will turn. And it will happen so fast that some Japanese sailors won't understand what hit them until their ships are sinking. This is the story of 5 minutes that changed history. The most decisive 5 minutes in naval warfare. The moment Japan lost the Pacific War. To understand why Midway mattered, you need to understand how dominant Japan was in June 1942. December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor. Japan destroys the American Pacific Fleet in a single morning. 8 battleships sunk or damaged. 2,403 Americans dead. The next 6 months, Japan conquers the Philippines, Malaya, Singapore, Dutch East Indies, Burma, Wake Island, Guam. The entire Western Pacific falls. By June 1942, Japan controls an empire stretching 4,000 miles. They've never lost a major naval battle. Their carrier pilots are the best in the world, veterans with hundreds of combat hours. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the man who planned Pearl Harbor, has a new target, Midway Island, a tiny atoll 1,300 miles northwest of Hawaii. Strategically worthless except for one thing. It threatens Japan's eastern perimeter. But Yamamoto's real goal isn't Midway. It's the American carriers. The carriers escaped Pearl Harbor by being at sea. Now Yamamoto wants to lure them into a trap. Attack Midway. Force the American carriers to respond. Destroy them in a decisive battle. It's a perfect plan. Except for one problem. American codebreakers have cracked Japan's naval codes. Commander Joseph Rockefort and his team at Station HYPO in Pearl Harbor intercept Japanese communications. They know Yamamoto is planning something big. They know the target is designated AF. But is AF Midway? Or somewhere else? Rockefort devises a test. He has Midway send a fake message in plain English. Midway is running low on fresh water. 2 days later, Japanese intelligence intercepts a message. AF is running low on fresh water. Confirmation. AF is Midway. Admiral Chester Nimitz, commanding the Pacific Fleet, sets his own trap. He'll position his 3 carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown, northeast of Midway. Hidden. Waiting. When the Japanese attack Midway, the American carriers will attack them. It's an ambush. But only if everything goes perfectly. June 4, 1942. 4:30 a.m. 4 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, launch 108 aircraft to attack Midway Island. The carriers are Japan's finest. Akagi and Kaga fought at Pearl Harbor. Soryu and Hiryu are fast, modern ships. Together, they carry over 250 aircraft and the most experienced naval aviators in the world. At 6:30 a.m., Japanese bombers hit Midway. They destroy fuel tanks, damage runways, kill personnel. But Midway's defenses survive. The airfield is damaged but operational. Lieutenant Tomonaga radios back, second attack necessary. On the carriers, the second-wave aircraft are armed with torpedoes, ready to attack American ships if they appear. But Tomonaga says Midway needs another strike. Vice Admiral Chuchi Nagumo, commanding the carrier force, makes a decision that will haunt Japanese naval history. At 7:15 a.m., he orders the second wave rearmed with bombs for a second Midway attack. Mechanics begin removing torpedoes and loading bombs. 7:28 a.m. A Japanese scout plane reports 10 enemy surface ships sighted. Nagumo's blood runs cold. American ships? Where? What type? 7:45 a.m. Updated report. Enemy force includes what appears to be a carrier. Nagumo reverses his order. Change the armament again. Torpedoes, not bombs. The American carrier is the priority. On the hangar decks, chaos. Mechanics frantically swap ordnance. Bombs are removed. Torpedoes wheeled into position. The work takes time. Precious time. Aviation fuel lines remain connected. Bombs and torpedoes are stacked on the hangar deck. They'll be stored properly later. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. American torpedo bombers attack in uncoordinated waves. Devastator aircraft from Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown. They're slaughtered. Of 41 Devastators that attack, 35 are shot down. Not a single torpedo hits. Japanese Zero fighters and anti-aircraft fire tear them apart. On the Japanese carriers, crews celebrate. The American attack failed. Now it's Japan's turn. The rearming is nearly complete. In 30 minutes, they'll launch a devastating strike against the American carriers. Victory seems certain. They have no idea what's about to happen. 10:22 a.m. 14,000 feet above the Japanese fleet. Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey leads 37 SBD Dauntless dive bombers from Enterprise. They've been searching for the Japanese carriers for over an hour. Fuel is running low. Some pilots are calculating if they have enough gas to return to their carrier. Then McCluskey sees it. A destroyer, racing northeast. McCluskey follows the wake. And there, spread out below, are 4 Japanese aircraft carriers. Completely exposed. Their decks crowded with aircraft being refueled and armed. It's the most perfect target any naval aviator has ever seen. McCluskey doesn't hesitate. He rolls into his attack dive. On Akagi, a lookout screams, "Enemy dive bombers." It's too late. The first bombs hit Kaga. A 1,000-pound bomb penetrates the flight deck and explodes in the hangar. Parked aircraft, fuel lines, and stacked ordnance detonate in a chain reaction. The hangar becomes an inferno. A second bomb hits near the bridge. Admiral Nagumo's staff is thrown to the deck by the blast. 2 bombs hit Akagi, flagship of the carrier force. 1 bomb strikes amidships, penetrating to the hangar where aircraft are being fueled. The explosion ignites aviation gas. Fire spreads instantly. Captain Taijiro Aoki tries to control the damage, but the fires are too intense. Torpedoes stored on the hangar deck cook off. Secondary explosions rip through the ship. 3 bombs hit Soryu. 1 bomb explodes among aircraft on the flight deck. Another penetrates to the hangar. The third hits near the bridge. Within seconds, Soryu is engulfed in flames. Captain Ryusuke Yanagimoto remains on the bridge as his ship burns. 10:27 a.m. 5 minutes after the first bomb hit, 3 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu, are burning uncontrollably. 3 of the 4 carriers that attacked Pearl Harbor. 3 of Japan's finest ships, gone in 5 minutes. Only Hiryu, positioned separately from the other 3 carriers, survives. Her crew watches in horror as their sister ships burn. Lieutenant Tomonaga returns from Midway. He circles above the burning carriers, unable to land. Fuel running low. He watches his squadron mates ditch in the ocean or try desperate landings on the burning decks. The entire Japanese strike force, dozens of aircraft, has nowhere to land. Pilots ditch in the ocean or crash attempting to land on Hiryu's crowded deck. Why were the carriers so vulnerable? The rearming chaos. Bombs and torpedoes stacked on hangar decks. Fuel lines still connected to aircraft. Aviation gas pooling on decks. The ships were floating bombs waiting to explode. American bombs didn't have to destroy the carriers directly. They just had to start fires among the ordnance and fuel. After that, the carriers destroyed themselves. Hiryu is Japan's last hope. Captain Tomio Kaku immediately launches every aircraft he has, 18 dive bombers, 6 fighters, toward the American carriers. The Japanese attack succeeds. They find USS Yorktown and hit her with 3 bombs. Yorktown lists heavily. She's out of action. But the damage to Yorktown doesn't change the mathematics. Japan has lost 3 carriers. America still has 2 operational carriers, Enterprise and Hornet. 2:45 p.m. American scout planes locate Hiryu. Enterprise immediately launches a strike. 5 p.m. American dive bombers attack Hiryu. For bombs hit. Fires erupt on the flight deck and in the hangar. Within minutes, Hiryu is burning as fiercely as the other 3 carriers. By sunset on June 4th, 1942. All 4 Japanese carriers are burning hulks. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, the core of Japan's carrier striking force, are finished. June 5. Akagi and Hiryu are scuttled by Japanese destroyers, torpedoed to prevent capture. Kaga and Soryu have already sunk. Over 3,000 Japanese sailors dead. 248 aircraft lost. Most of Japan's most experienced carrier pilots gone. American losses. USS Yorktown, sunk by Japanese submarine 2 days later, 145 aircraft, 307 men. The mathematical trade is catastrophic for Japan. They cannot replace 4 fleet carriers. They cannot replace the experienced pilots and mechanics. They cannot recover from this loss. The Battle of Midway didn't end World War II. Japan fought for 3 more years with fanatical determination. But Midway ended Japan's offensive capability. Before Midway, Japan was advancing across the Pacific. After Midway, Japan was defending. The carrier math became impossible. By 1943, American shipyards were producing carriers faster than Japan could sink them. The Essex-class carriers, bigger, faster, and carrying more aircraft than any Japanese carrier, started joining the fleet. Japan never recovered from losing 4 carriers in one day. They built new carriers, but they couldn't replace the experienced pilots and mechanics lost at Midway. Japanese pilot training declined steadily. Early war pilots had 700-plus flight hours before combat. By 1944, new pilots had 100 hours. By 1945, kamikaze pilots had 50 hours. The veterans who made Pearl Harbor possible died at Midway, Coral Sea, and later battles. The replacements were brave but undertrained. Admiral Yamamoto reportedly said after Pearl Harbor, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." At Midway, that giant woke up, and Japan discovered what American industrial might and determination could accomplish.